Okay. Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I'm Kathy Nordyke. I'm the owner of Drop the Leash Pet Sitting. My mission is to teach other women how to earn extra income through pet sitting. On Wednesdays, I share Wednesday wisdom, and today I am joined by a special guest. This is Danette and her little pudgy boy. They have joined us because they're going to tell us all about dog agility competitions. This is
Hi,
such
Kathy.
a cool sport. Yeah, say hi. Danette, start by telling us a little bit about you, where you're from, and how long you've been doing this, and why you got into it in the first place.
Okay, I'm from Columbus, and I started out with a really big dog, and we learned about a few different venues, and we did some barn hunting and some different things like that, and I met a lot of really fun people. And then I lost my big dog, and they're like, you should really try a little dog. You should try a little dog. And I was like, I don't know. So then they introduced me to Frenchies and ended up getting Pudgy. And they're like, you should really try agility with him. He seems to really like it, And I was like, okay, why not? So it was all because of my lady friends and their little dogs, and they got us started. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been a fun adventure, and I've made some really good friends.
I bet you have. I've never heard of barn hunting. Is that like another type of dog sport?
Yes, it's called Barn Hunt, and you can look it up on the AKC website. And it's where they put rats in tubes, and they hide the tubes, and the dog has to find the right tube that has the rat in it. And my Doberman loved that game, loved it. She would have been a champion 100 by now. That was her sport. We tried that with him, but he just doesn't have the nose.
Is that right? Yeah.
He doesn't have any nose.
He's got a smushy nose. I'm sure that there are different types of breeds that are best at different types of sport. So, well, for instance, they use certain types of breeds in hunting, period. So that makes sense. Are Frenchies traditional? Are they traditionally good at agility? Is that a thing?
Not specifically. A lot of it is individual. Some dogs do great at that kind of stuff, but a Frenchie isn't known to do it. And they're also brachycephalic, so they have the smushy nose, which makes it harder for them in certain weather. And they can't be too hot, because they'll overheat, and that's a problem. But it's really based on your dog. Like I said, he didn't like barn hunting. We tried it, but it wasn't his thing.
Yeah.
So whatever makes your dog really shine. So that's kind of what we did. We just tried a bunch of stuff, and he seemed to really like agility, so that's where we went.
That is so cool. I love it. How often do you all compete? In between, I'm sure that you practice with him and you take him somewhere to run courses, and then how often do you compete with him?
Well, it's been really hard with the circumstances in the world right now, but we do have our own weave poles, so we just stick them in the front yard. And, you can always jerry rig things, just kind of make them as you go. Like we put a couple chairs together and a bar over the chairs and had him jump over that. So you can make your own stuff, just kind of put it together. But there's competitions in different cities in Columbus, and they're different venues. So you can choose to do AKC agility. You can choose to do CPE, which is canine performance.
Okay.
There's different venues that you can participate and compete in.
Gotcha.
And we've chosen, there's also teacup. So that's for really little dogs. And we've done that one before too. It has smaller equipment, which is a lot of fun.
So cute.
So there's different things that you can do. You just have to look them up and decide how far you're willing to travel. Some of them are a couple hours. Some of them are a lot of hours. So, it's just based on your comfort level and where you are. And every venue has its own stepping stones, like level 1, level 2, or novice and open. And so they kind of go in sequential order. So you don't start out, doing 900 jumps. You start out, just a little bit, and then you go further and further. So
build up to it. That is so interesting. Tell me about your shirt. You have on a Sky Dogs shirt. What's Sky Dogs?
That was one of the places where we trained. There's a few places around the city that we trained. Sky Dogs was one of them with Allison Holloway. Great place to go. They also are paw savers. if you've heard of them. They're a rescue, and they help with animals who are handicapped with deaf and blind. Usually Aussies because they're double merle.
Yeah.
She's really good with that. We've also been to ARF. That's in Gahanna. That's a great place to go. We've trained there with some really great people, Shane and Cherry. So that's another good place to go. We've also been to Columbus Allbreed, and that's in Columbus. So we've trained there. It's nice to train at different facilities because your dog gets used to different things.
Ah.
That's another important thing, that they start to get comfortable, because sometimes the competition venue is a little stressful. You know, you're in this big room and there's a bunch of other dogs and everybody's there, and then you go out and you're supposed to perform. Well, they could get nervous too.
Sure.
If you're
And
nervous.
distracted, and there's a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So it sounds like there's quite a few places, if I had a dog that I felt like might be good at it or could learn to do it, there's quite a few places just right here in Columbus that you could take your dog to train. And
Absolutely. Yes.
Do you yourself train your dog to do the course, or do you have a trainer work with your dog, or do you do both?
I just do it myself at this point, because he's not fast. He's not like, you know, those border collies you see out there where they just blur through the.
Oops. You know what, Danette? I think we lost your audio.
How's that?
Oh, perfect. Thank you. You were saying that he's not as fast as like maybe some of the border collies that we've seen?
Yes, he's slow and steady like the turtle. So he's very consistent. He goes exactly where I tell him to, but we're not going to break any land speed records. So it just depends on, you know, the dog. So a lot of times when I train with him, like if we're in the yard or something, it's more about accuracy and consistency and him listening to me. So, and sometimes it's distance. You know, I'll be standing on one side of the yard, and I'll tell him to go over there and do the weaves, and hopefully he'll go all the way over there, he'll do the weaves, and he'll come back. Sometimes he just sits there and looks at me like, well, that's too far away. So, you know.
That's interesting. So it's not necessarily about who can get through the course the fastest, but who does it the most accurately and listens the best.
Yes.
That is really cool. This is so interesting to me. I love it. Well, he is a very smart boy. I know from seeing your Facebook posts that you have won a lot of these competitions, and you've placed very well in a lot of competitions. So whatever you guys are doing is good. Tell our audience, beyond winning ribbons and you know, taking pride in the fact that you have a very well trained and very well behaved dog, what benefit is there for the dog himself? What does Pudgy get out of all of this?
Well, we have a great relationship. Sometimes I don't even have to say anything, and he knows what I'm thinking. So we're very close in that respect, and that's really good. We have a lot of fun together, and he's also very fit. It's good for them physically, but you have to wait until they're 6 months before you can really do some of this stuff, because their bones haven't quite fused yet. So they won't let you compete until they're a year old, because they don't want the animal to get hurt. You know, I mean, if they do a jump and their bones aren't where they're supposed to be, and they could break something or put something out of line. So you really have to be careful with them. But, you know, Pudgy only jumps at 8 inches. He measures to jump 12, but because he is such a big, heavy, stocky dog, I have him jump at 8. I bring it down. I don't make him jump that high. So you also have to be aware of the animal's capabilities, and, you know, you have to be mindful. But the best part is the relationship.
I bet. That is very cool. And I think that is a benefit for any kind of training that an owner does with their dog. You know, it just really increases that bond and that trust between the two of you. This is so interesting. Well, thank you so much for sharing all this information with me. And as I mentioned to you earlier, thank you for sharing time on your day off to hang out with us and tell us more about the dog agility competitions. Anything coming up? Any competitions on the calendar for you guys?
Not agility. We've got a fast cat coming up next weekend. So that'll be fun. That's probably his favorite thing to do. That is where they put a plastic bag on a pulley, and the dog does a 100-yard dash, and they measure the time to see how fast he can go. And he was number 1 2 years in a row, and last year he went to number 7, I think. because we weren't able to compete as much. It got really hot. And like I said, without a nose, it's hard to breathe. And I don't want to put him through that when the weather is too hot. And so we're going to try our first one next weekend and see how that goes. But
Good.
with everything going on, we haven't really been able to do a whole lot. A lot of things have been canceled. But CPE has nationals coming up, and we did get into those, and we are planning to go to those. So I'll definitely update you when we get there and send videos and stuff like that, because that one's a lot of fun.
That sounds great. We will keep an eye on Facebook too to see how he does, and we'll be cheering for you this coming weekend, Pudgy.
Yes, and if you are interested in seeing his Facebook page, because he does have his own.
Very cool. Yeah, tell us.
It's Heavy P, the Frenchie.
Yep. Heavy P, the Frenchie. I love it. Well, thank you. We will definitely check that out. Thank you all for tuning in today. I'd also like to mention, if you'd like to know more about pet sitting, you can visit my website at droptheleashpetsitting.com. You can also join our Facebook group, which is Pet Sitter Startup Squad. We would love to have you. Thank you again, Danette. So nice to meet you and get to know you and Pudgy better. We'll talk to you all.
Okay, we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.